We've been told by our government in the last few months that we can't say certain words and that we can't use certain language. I'm trained as an American literature scholar, and I know that language is everything. And when they start taking the words out of our mouth and telling us what we can say, that's not all right. So I have asked for young people who are writers to end this symposium with their creative words. And they're all different, and they all took that to mean something different. So if our readers could come up and find a place here. We've got 4 readers. They will each introduce themselves and then begin their reading. And if we can just really gather them, like a sense if we were actually moving, we're not, but we're gathering around them this moment and really honoring that the act of expressing oneself truthfully and honestly is one of the most radical acts that we can do right now, and we will be asked as leaders, as feminist climate leaders, to do this over and over again. And when we do it, it may not be the easiest place or the easiest way to do it, but we're going to have to keep doing it. So we will start. Who did we decide was going to start? Sophie? Sophie's starting, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I grew up in LA in a place that used to be called Pacific Palisades, and I wrote a piece about the moment that I learned that my house wasn't there anymore. Our house is gone, is all my mom can say when she FaceTimes me. She reaches out her arms to fit her boyfriend, my oldest sister, brother-in-law, and the family dog in the frame. The middle sister and I, pressed together on my couch in Brooklyn, are passed around the red vinyl booth at some sports bar in Marina del Rey, asking and being asked how the news is sitting with us. A baseball game and news coverage of both the Palisades fire that claimed our house in the night and the Eaton fire blast in the background, making our conversation nearly inaudible. The whole neighborhood is gone. The whole town, my mom says, as footage of what was the Alphabet Streets flashes on one of the screens. I had just left. 2 days before, I had been there. On January 2nd, I was at the beach with high school friends, sunbathing and laughing about how we wish we hadn't left LA. On January 5th, I woke up in my childhood bedroom for the last time and debated whether it was too late to extend my trip. On January 7th, I got a call from my mom while I was restocking my fridge in the apartment, saying they were evacuating but expected to be back the next day. On the morning of January 8th, I rolled over and opened watch duty and saw that the fire perimeter had engulfed the entire area while we slept. The first of our neighbors posted the aftermath of their homes in drive-by videos and footage from their Ring cameras on social media. Still, on our first call that day, my mom and I had optimistically proclaimed that ours would still be there, that we would have felt it if it were really gone. I answered the call, sitting at my desk in my apartment, watching snow melt from the fire escape above me. My freshly unpacked suitcase sat empty behind me. I stared at the artifacts from the many lives I'd lived in LA, haphazardly strewn around the room, as if I had just been told their true value. My life in New York was wholly unaltered by the disaster unfolding in Los Angeles. I got to wake up in my own bed, surrounded by everything I owned. Even though the 4 walls around me were the same as they were when I fell asleep, I was unable to let go of this new feeling of terror and nakedness. With the confirmation that the house was gone, this was everything I own. For the first time, no parts of me were scattered across the country. I was consolidated in this room without having given my informed consent that these were the things I wanted with me. It's all gone, my mom repeated over and over again. I stared down at the unincorporated items. I asked myself not if each sparked joy, but if they were worth not seeing any of the things I'd left behind for safekeeping again. The answer being an obvious and resounding absolutely not. I hear the chorus of friends, family, and even myself saying with the best of intentions that it's just stuff. It is, but it was my stuff. It was the paper trail of my life and the lives of family members who are no longer here, many of whom I only knew through their lamps and tablecloths. And via an almost endless stream of TikToks, I watched the remnants rain down like snow over West Hollywood, each fleck of ash holding a unique crystalline structure of my memories. My mom has gone back to the site of where the house stood twice now and sent me pictures of what survived: a cement tile that I made as a kid and a few clay plots. From the way the rubble appeared in the first photos I saw, I thought there would be more to recover. I consoled myself by imagining that we may walk away with something that I had once held as a foundational piece of my character. I was devastated, but I couldn't let myself really believe that this had happened to me. This had happened to my mom. She was the one who had lost everything. I had moved away and only lost things that I had already outgrown or not yet inherited. This was not my tragedy, even if it was my family's. And then came the sleepless nights and the reaching for things that weren't there, the sense that I could never go home again and that I had no idea where home was going to be overwhelmed me. I spent a whole week only trying and mostly failing to eat 3 square meals a day. All I could do was lay in bed and walk through the ghost of my house, desperately picturing what exactly was in each room. Having spent the holidays culling through my bedroom, the losses feel more existential than tangible. I had already left childhood behind, already moved far away, and already decided that I would be venturing out to find a new home elsewhere. But this home was always supposed to be there waiting for me until it was one day mine again. The loss of one house, my house, was too big for me to comprehend, yet it was also too small to dwell on. In comparison to the scale of devastation in this catastrophe, everyone I talk to, even in New York, knows someone who has been affected. Now that the fires are out and the news cycle is moving on, I can finally begin to process just what this means for me, personally, and for us collectively. I'm choosing to do this processing in public view as a reminder that this was not an accident nor a tragedy to be dramatized and cast aside. This is the direct result of the climate we created, and it could happen to any of us. I grew up knowing that one day I would be affected by the intensifying climate crisis. Still, I never expected it to come for me first of all my friends.
Hello, everyone. I'm the next that's supposed to speak. I'm Allie. I'm a IWL Leadership Scholar, and today, and I'm actually, before I even discuss what I'm going to do, I'm an English major and American Studies major, and I want to thank the audience for being here, and you, Dr. Mark and Megan, for again allowing us to offer this interdisciplinary approach to a very important conversation. So, and actually, I'm going to be reading off my phone, and I thought about printing out a piece of paper, but that didn't seem too eco-friendly since it's going to be unnecessary anyway. So the personal poem I wrote for you all today is called Reconciliation. It goes like this. Our Mother, forgive us of our trespasses, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from self-wrought disaster. We imagine you felt the way. We've drained you of your natural lubricant. We've scorched your brown flesh. We've contaminated your fluids. We've severed your earthly limbs and caused you pain for our own gain. We've poisoned your lungs. We've indulged in gluttony and greed. We've eliminated and endangered other forms of your creation. We've rushed you before you were ready, dooming ourselves to hellish heat and your volatile nature. Have you felt our sins? In the meantime, we'll convene, fulfill our penance, and better honor your body and blood. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tanaya Muslim. I'm an Africana Studies and a journalism major, and I'm also an IWL scholar. and I'll be reading from my poem called The Environment, the Face of the Enslaved and the Liberated. The first life lesson that my grandmother taught me was how important land truly is, and how necessary it was to keep, protect, and take care of. She taught me this not only because it reminded her of distant memories, playing tag with her siblings, running on acres in the South Carolina heat, but as a reminder of her father's life. A Black man killed, trying to protect and keep the land he worked tirelessly for. He refused to give up the land he walked on, the land his children were born on, the land his wife took her last breath on, to any man who couldn't appreciate the love that he planted in the soil. It became apparent to me that the environment, the land, was intertwined with Black history, a natural representation of Black love and sorrow. When I think of the environment, I think of the oceans, a reminder of paths that led to bondage, ships dancing on the water, waltzing my people to their nightmares. I think of those above the water, awaiting their unfortunate destinies, and those whose spirits will forever scream and sing underneath. I think of the trees that held my people close, wrapping their branches around their necks, leading them to their forever home. I think of the sun, wind, and rain, showering them in fields where they slaved. I think of the soil that's fused with their blood, sweat, and tears. I think of the grass they ran on, passing the lakes and using the rivers as guides to what they would have called freedom, to which we now know was just the ending to a chapter to a book that we are still surviving. Black history is the environment. It is climate change. And those who participate in the destruction of that environment participate in the destruction of Black history. Although the trees, lakes, oceans, rivers, and the soil have all tasted the nectar of Black pain, they stand as a reminder of Black resilience and Black resistance, Black love, power, and the faith that we would have a time where I can stand here and speak to all of you. Although you cannot change the past and the history it holds, you could put the work in to keep that history alive. Poisoning the oceans, the rivers, and the lakes silence the Black souls that are forever present, holding us up and keeping our lives afloat. Cutting down the trees and polluting the air slows the heartbeat of the Black oppressed that runs through our veins. Let this be a wake-up call to the part you play in the erasure of a time of Black turmoil and Black excellence. So the next time you think of climate change and the environment, you see my face, you see my great-grandfather's face, you see the face of the enslaved and the liberated. Thank you.
I don't talk very loud. So, hello, I'm Madison Griffin. I am also an Africana Studies major with a minor in Latino and Caribbean Studies. So I kind of took a different approach. I'm really interested in Black women's work in environmental, in just social justice movements in general. I'm also an IWL scholar. So Black women's feminism has always been interesting to me. So I wrote a short essay on Black women and the environmental justice movement and my personal connection to environmental activism. So I titled this essay, Ducks, Sea Turtles, and Penguins, Black Women and Environmental Justice. It's funny to me, but it's good. It's good. So I grew up in a middle-class white suburban town in South Jersey, like the part of South Jersey that's like real red. We don't talk about it. So I've had the privilege of never really being directly affected by climate change, besides really hot summers or no snow on Christmas, like when I was a kid. So therefore, the only introduction to climate activism has been through a screen. I've always felt disconnected from it. It's not that I didn't care about the environment or the people on the planet. It's just I felt like something was missing. It was hard for me to connect the dots to my life, because everything I saw surrounding environmental activism was like it was its own vacuum. I don't live in a vacuum. So I felt like there was more concern surrounding ducks, sea turtles, and penguins rather than the lives of people living in communities that these activists weren't a part of. The issue surrounding climate change and activism just felt like another problem to deal with in a society that doesn't like Black people to begin with. So I had this mindset until I understood the intersectional approach of environmental justice and the work of Black women to address issues affecting overburdened communities. The same social and economic structures that produce and enforce segregation and other forms of discrimination have created the disproportionate impact of environmental hazards. Black women such as Hazel M. Johnson, whose active advocacy and discovery that environmental issues disproportionately surrounded many Black communities, influenced new research analyzing the relationship between identity and environmental hazards. And such as the work of previous panelists, the Black women have shifted the conversation around climate change and environmental concerns to create a movement that addresses these issues in an intersectional context. So now, as students and young activists, we must question how people's perspectives in overburdened communities impact our activism. How can we evolve the perspective of those living in the communities Rutgers occupies? We live in this community for 9 months out of the year and make a significant impact on the environment. How are we going to combat this? In New Jersey, we've acknowledged these issues and labeled these communities as overburdened or as environmental justice communities, but what now? What can we do at Rutgers to contribute to change? I pose all these questions not to overwhelm you. Truthfully, I don't have any of these answers. But thinking about and trying to answer these questions is crucial to understanding our impact and on these communities we take so much from. We must begin the work within the community we occupy. Naming an issue is a crucial first step, but now it is a time to start walking forward. I was greatly inspired by this symposium and intend to learn as much as possible to incorporate climate justice into my education at Rutgers and beyond, but how are we going to take action now?